Okay, can we start? Thank you. 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 Oh, thank you. So we can start. Please take a seat because, first of all, a few informations. We choose our scrutineers for tomorrow. Rodotos Miltiados from Europe, Durganat Subedi for Asia, Peperipe, of course, for Africa, and Javier Hoyos for America. So please, if you see them or if you are in the hall, stay in the hall in 5:30. We have to make a check. If you are not in the hall, please, those of you who knows them, please give them an information. Second, anybody who will resign from the list you sent for tomorrow's elections, please do it until 5 o'clock. This is the deadline. Until 5 o'clock today. All the continents, all the delegates, all the associations, please check, do we want to resign? And now, something completely different. As you know, every year AIPS is doing an honor to the best press facility in the world. Of course, AIPS members is voting for that. And every year, our Hungary friends gives a big and very, very beautiful trophy. You can see it here. And this year, Ms. Zsuzsa Csisztu and Mr. Gustav Mravik will give it to Tokyo 2021. But for Tokyo 2021, Shinzo Kobayashi will take it if he is Shinzuku Kobayashi. Oh, he's here. I saw you there. So please do it in the front of here so everybody can see you and everybody can applaud you. No up. We have no time. And Zsuzsa is in the big hills, so. No, it is not for him. He's just taking that because he's going to Lausanne and he will be the main man with this trophy. It is for the organization of Tokyo 2021 Press Center, and we really love it, those of us who were there. Some pictures. And thanks again to our Hungary friends. Really, really beautiful trophy. And thanks to Shinzuku that we will get it to the right place. Thank you very much. After this, as you know from our program, we have a FIFA Qatar 2022 press operation report. The speaker will be Mr. Hans Hultman, FIFA head of media. Yes, he is here, and I will give him the floor. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And congratulations to Tokyo 2021 or Tokyo 2020, which was the official, wasn't it? It's a big achievement. And I certainly hope that we will be able to come back next year, maybe to be competitive for the nice trophy as well from FIFA and Qatar. So good afternoon, everyone. And first of all, thanks to AIPS to invite us to come and make a short presentation on our operations at the World Cup in Qatar. And I hope we can start
21 editions and 17 hosts. Every 4 years, the eyes of the world turn to just one select destination to follow the best football and witness the most exciting show on earth. After France lifted the trophy in Russia, The FIFA World Cup now moves to Qatar. For the first time in the Middle East and Arab world, a FIFA World Cup like no other. It's an invitation that opens the door to a world of amazing experiences. A striking fusion between an ancient culture and a modern lifestyle. With 8 state-of-the-art sustainable stadiums located in a compact setting, with the longest distance between 2 venues being 75 kilometers and the shortest just 5 kilometers. With a new metro and roads connecting the sporting and entertainment infrastructure, no internal flights will be needed. A single accommodation venue for the entire tournament for fans, media and players who will benefit from less disruption and perform to an even higher level. The FIFA World Cup 2022 will take place during Qatar's mild winter, offering perfect temperatures to play and enjoy football. A full and exciting schedule with 4 matches per day in the group stage, allowing fans to watch more than 1 game per day during this phase. All fans will be welcome, catered for, and gather in one single area to celebrate football, discover the local culture, and share unique experiences, creating a thrilling atmosphere and leaving a lasting legacy. The most amazing FIFA World Cup ever.
Yeah, as you can imagine, it's a bit of a challenge with coming from 2 very large countries in the world, Brazil in 2014 and Russia in 2018, with long distances, and coming to a very small country that you could see in the presentation here. So we have been working very hard to try to find solutions in similar ways, how we are working with the FIFA World Cup 2022. This is a very quick overview how we are organized on the media operations side, and together with communications. That we have our own media staff members and FIFA media officers, the freelancing people that we choose from all over the world, from all our different confederations. We have a lot of information on the FIFA Media Hub. I will return to that a little bit later. And we have, in general, a lot of different services for the media. And then, obviously, we're also working together with what we call Q22, Qatar 22. We don't have a traditional LOC anymore with FIFA. So we have a joint venture company that is owned 51% by FIFA and 49% of the organizing country, Qatar. But with us having a lot of influence in who is working there, and we have been able to pick professional people to work with us in Q22, and we do that in a very, very close way, if I put it like that. Of course, then we have to work together with the teams and with the team media officers of the 32 qualified teams, and obviously with maybe the most important of all, that we have the volunteers on site as well in all the different stadiums. One of the first things that we went into considering a few years ago, even before the last World Cup, was how do we deal with the compact nature of a World Cup like this? And the decision was to go a little bit more towards the Olympic way and create a main media center. We don't call it main press center, just to make it a bit different. So the main media center, where we then decided together with our colleagues in TV that we would do it jointly between the IBC, but also with the media. I mean, we're all colleagues, regardless if we are broadcasters or written press or websites or photographers, which means that we found it like very nice, very good synergies in having everyone in the same place during the World Cup. That was also, from another point of view, that we wanted to gather and we wanted to really create a hub where media could stay regardless of how they wanted to work with the matches. And that means that we have still the same capacities in the stadiums. You can go to a stadium, we have still the same media tribune capacities and around the pitch for the photographers, but a little bit less working space because we're only open on match days in the stadiums. So all the different services that we normally have in the stadiums are now boiled down to joint services in the main media center, with photographer services from the different also from the different suppliers, Canon, Nikon, and Sony in this case, and obviously with a lot of other convenience services that we have. That means that a day in the life during the World Cup of a journalist or a photographer could look like this. You use the media shuttle service from your hotel, you come to the main media center, you can go to one of the training grounds for one of the teams that you follow, you come back, you're going to one stadium for one match, you're following a match day -1 press conference, a pre-match press conference in the main media center. You have post-match activities from another match in the main media center, and you can continue throughout the day being active in covering football for your media organization. The services we have there is, first of all, that we have also centralized this time the match day -1 press conferences. The training sessions for the teams are happening in their own team base camps, not in the stadiums as traditionally was. One of the reasons is to save the pitches, to have the best possible conditions for the match in the stadium. Because we have in some stadiums, or in most of the stadiums, it's 48 hours or even less between the matches. So to make the pitch maintenance and to save them, then it was decided to let the teams stay at home in the base camp where they have. And then not to use the stadiums either for the press conferences, but centralize everything in the main media center. And that is in 2 different auditoriums. And we also have 2 different auditoriums where we have match viewing experience in the virtual stadium. One is a big theater where we hope to give an outstanding experience with much more than you get if you're just watching it on television, that we will have more statistics, more things that could add to the match experience for anyone who is watching the match there. This is just a rendering of how we see it with a large screen and with the possibility of having a nice experience, as I said. The other services we have together with IBC, it's a lot of different convenience service, including, you can see a pharmacy, laundry service, a travel agency, even a fitness center inside the Qatar National Convention Center, which is a huge conference center in the city of Qatar, of Doha. Stadiums, I think you may already know that we have 8 stadiums. They are divided into 2 different clusters, and that is also depending on, or the reason that is like that is to handle traffic on every match day, that we don't have all matches clashing with each other in different areas of Qatar. So it's a thought through also from the flow of traffic and the flow of the different routes. So we have Al Bayt Stadium, where we have the opening, Khalifa International, which many of you already know. That's the old stadium in Doha, which has hosted a lot of international events most recently the IAAF or World Athletics Championships in 2019, and is now renovated, refurbished a little bit since then. Al Tumama Stadium, completely new. Ahmad bin Ali Stadium, completely new on the same place that it was the Al Rayyan Stadium before. I'm not going into detail with the capacities, but they are in a range for the media tribunes from around 1,000 for the smaller stadiums up to almost 3,000 if we count all the commentary positions as well. Pitch photographers every match, 220. Media center, everything from 200 up to 600. Press conference rooms around 150, with the exception of the final stadium. Lusail, which is 250, and a large mixed zone as well. Lusail Stadium, brand new, was actually opened only a few weeks ago with the first event. Stadium 974 is the very special stadium built by containers, actually, and it's completely, it can be completely dismantled after the World Cup with shipping containers, and it's actually in the actual harbor of Doha. Education City Stadium in the middle of Qatar Foundation, and Al Janoub Stadium, which was the first one of the newly built stadiums that was inaugurated in 2019. Media transport, which is interesting for all of you that are coming to Qatar, that we will have shuttle services between media hotels or clusters of media hotels to the main media center. We will obviously have transport then from the main media center to the stadiums or to the training sites, at least for the match day -1 training sessions. We will have transport between stadiums when you have an approved ticket for 2 matches on a day. Match 1 to match 3, we cannot do match 1 to match 2, it's too short of a time in the group stage. So it's match 1 to match 3 or match 2 to match 4. If you have match 1 to match 4, you can go back to the main media center and then take another shuttle from there. And then in the knockout stage from match 1 to match 2, in case you have a ticket for both matches on that day. We have Wi-Fi available on all buses, which means that you can continue your work even when you're traveling to the next match or back to the main media center. On top of that, there is free public transportation with buses and the pretty newly built metro in Doha, which is actually serving 5 out of the 8 stadiums with a metro station very close by. For the other 3, there are shuttle buses, both for media and for general public to the closest metro station. So what's new? Yeah, we have tried to find a lot of different things to enhance the work for all the media. We have a queuing system for the photographers services. We have remote interpretation for everyone. For all the media, all the press conferences that we have. We have, and I will come to that a little bit later, ticketing systems that are completely new, both for written press and photographers. And we have a new media, let's say, reinvented, what we called before the media channel is now the FIFA Media Hub. And I will come a little bit more to that here. That is then kind of a virtual media center where we try to provide as much services as we can for everyone. And that is not only for the accredited media, that is also for all media around the world that are not in Qatar, but still interested or still maybe even covering the competition from a remote location. I'm not going too much into detail with everything that we are providing here, but there will be streaming of press conferences. There will be remote interpretation for all those press conferences as well. And we will have a lot of statistics, results, lineups, and links to other areas. I think many of you know that FIFA is pretty well advanced in terms of technology, and we will try to use as much as possible from that technology that is actually gathered from the matches by the players, everything from running distances to speed and a lot of other things. Media accreditation is already kind of finished or closed. Not really, because we still have some people that are applying, and they can. As many of you know, we have a quota system where we're working together with the member associations of FIFA, and they receive a quota. And then if they have received a quota and they still have spaces left, then the accreditation system is still open for anyone. And then I'm talking about the written press and photographers. For the broadcasters, it's a different process. And for the non-rights holding broadcasters, it's also a different process where everyone can apply, but there are arbitration done by our colleagues in the broadcast division. The accreditation is also covering the entry permit to Qatar. It's actually that there is no need for visa for the period of the World Cup. So the visa requirement is kind of is waived actually by the government of Qatar, and instead replaced by an entry permit. And that is not only for media, that is also for the general spectator who has bought a ticket, because then you receive an entry permit by default. And for the media, that will also include a photo and filming permit, which is required by law in Qatar, and that is also by default to all accredited media. We're working close with the host country, and the host country is also providing media services in the city of Doha. So, just to give you a little bit of an overview, I have two different videos, and I hope it works. No, it didn't. Let's go back. I don't know if I need to click on the video or how does it work? Here we go.
In this video, we'll take you through the steps to request your media ticket, select your photo pitch position online, and apply for a parking pass. First of all, make sure to collect your personal photo bib at the info desk in the main media center. photographers will have two options. You can request a seat in the photo tribune or a photo pitch position. If you apply for a photo position in the tribune and your application is approved, you'll be assigned a seat by the media ticketing team. Your other option is to apply for a photo pitch position. If approved, you can select your preferred position yourself. This can now all be done online, which means no more unnecessary trips to the stadium and no more queuing. Here's how it works. Photographers with an approved pitch position will be placed into a priority group and informed as of 48 hours before kickoff. You'll be able to choose your seat online starting on the day before the match. You can do this on your laptop or even on your mobile phone. Just make sure you have a stable internet connection. With your assigned priority group, you will get a dedicated time slot from when you can log into the system and choose your seat. You have time until 2 hours before kickoff. The time slots for the groups A to D start as follows. On the day prior to the match, photographers in Priority Group A can start to choose their seats as of 10 a.m. Priority Group B as of 2 p.m. and Priority Group C as of 6 p.m. Check-in for the automatic seat assignment for photographers placed in Priority Group D opens as of 10 a.m. Once you are logged in, the system will show you the time left before you can choose your seat. When it is your turn, you will have 45 seconds to make your selection. To help you, a live preview of the pitch showing available and already occupied seats will be displayed while you are waiting. If you do not complete the seat selection process within this window, you will automatically be placed at the back of the queue within your priority group and will be given as many attempts as you need until 2 hours before kickoff. After that time, seats will be assigned automatically based on availability so that you can be sure you will have a seat. Once you have secured the seat on the pitch or tribune, just print out your tickets at the main media center or at the stadium. If you are in Priority Group D, make sure to log into the system to confirm your attendance at the match. Your position will be assigned automatically, and you will be informed of your seat number via email 2 hours before kickoff. Applying for a pitch position will also allow you to request a ticket to place a remote camera behind the goal. If your request is approved, you'll be able to print your remote camera ticket along with your other tickets. When arriving at the stadium, present your printed remote camera ticket to a media pitch volunteer and they will be able to support you in placing your camera. You can also request a parking slot at the stadium via the media ticketing system. Here's what you need to know. The parking pass consists of 2 parts, and you will need to present both when arriving at the stadium. The first part is a generic media parking pass, which comes with a pouch. You can collect this from the main media center at the same time as collecting your photo bib. Just like your bib, you will need this for the whole tournament. The second part of the parking pass is a match-specific media ticket. You can apply for this in the media ticketing system. If approved, you'll be able to print it using the media ticketing kiosks. All you need to do is place the ticket inside the pouch of the generic parking pass and show it to security when you get to the media parking P4 at the stadium. As long as you have both parts, you'll be granted access. And that's all you need to know.
I think that gave a pretty good picture of what we have been dealing with for the last, not only this, of course, but one of the projects that we have had for the last couple of years, actually, to really enhance the possibility. It's a similar process and system for the media tribune ticketing with the difference that we are making the pre-seating for all that are approved for a match ticket. Just to add here that to have access to the stadium, you need to have an approved ticket, because otherwise we would risk having everyone going to some of the big matches and hanging around or trying to get a ticket in the stadium media center. So it's actually the same as for general public, that you need an approved ticket to get into the stadium. Otherwise, we will refer to the services that we are doing in the main media center. So yeah, in principle, what the video already told is that it's a centralized system and very high tech, a little bit similar to when you are flying and choosing your seat on an airplane, just with a bit even more complex with the fact that we have the priority groups, which is, if I explain it very briefly, for the big ones, of course, obviously with highest priority, and of course from media from the two teams playing is from team A, team B is highest priority, and then we have a list of different categories of course, obviously local media comes there as well, main international media, and then coming down to on the, let's say, the lowest level magazines that doesn't even report on the daily basis, but still, of course, have a chance to come into the stadium. But there's a different priority. Remote interpretation, as I said before, is something that we are providing for all press conferences, match day -1 and match day. And it's actually in a remote interpretation center, and everyone can download an app to the mobile phone and use their own headsets. So not the same system as we have here to pick up a headset and to give it back again, but everyone can use their own equipment from anywhere, actually, where you are in Qatar at that point. So either sitting in the media center or being in the stadium with the same app. Some things that are a little bit new as well for this competition. We, as FIFA and Q22, are providing media facilities also for the teams in their team base camps. As many of you know, a lot of the teams prefer to have their own facilities for their own media and for international media as well. And of course, they can have it without a problem. But we do provide a basic setup for all the teams with a capacity for approximately 100 media in a room that can be used for press conferences, and that is also a working area with internet connectivity, power, and we have space in a media tribune in each and every of the training sites as well. We have approximately 30 people that we hire from outside, as I mentioned before, 16 media officers assigned to 2 teams each. They're following those teams on match day -1 at the training session and the press conference, and on match day, obviously, at the match. Then when we come to a little bit later in the competition, then of course that number will be reduced. And then we have 8 media officers based in the 8 stadiums, working together with the Q22 venue media managers that have been there for almost more than a year now. Match day -1 activities, as I said already before, official training sessions at home in the team base camp, and the press conference is centralized in the main media center. Another thing that we are trying, which is then also to adapt a little bit to other sports, is to have the mixed zone active immediately after the final whistle. Not for everyone, but at least we are asking the teams to provide a few players to come and to give comments immediately after the final whistle. Not everyone will have the chance to come down. That's why we have a little bit of a hybrid, that they will come back from the dressing room as well. But for the ones that needs an immediate reaction from the teams, we want to provide that. Just as many other team sports are doing, like handball, ice hockey, basketball, and so on. And also, of course, individual sports as athletics. So that's an innovation that we hope will work as well. And then just to finish, again, I've been focusing on our operations, But of course, obviously, we're working also very close together with our communications colleagues. And just to show you the organization chart, similar to the one I started with, finishing with our communications division, and that is led by the two directors, David Farrelly on corporate communications and content production and digital content, and Brian Swans on media relations, and then underneath staff members there. I'm sure you know that there has been a change a little bit with FIFA.com as well. So we have now FIFA Plus is also our digital colleagues, and they are providing a lot of action and activities, but mainly to the general public and to the supporters, the fans out there, while corporate communications are more to what is done within the organization and what is done also in terms of organization for the media coming to, well, for all our events, but in particular in this case, coming to Qatar. I think that was it. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to try to answer them. Otherwise, thank you.
Just a little bit.
Sure.
I would ask our new Vice President, Hee Jung, the new President of Asia Continental Section, to give you a small trophy just to remember us and Rome and our 84th Congress. Thank you. Also, Lucia, don't go. She's trying to escape. Lucia, please stay, because I would ask our Vice President, Mr. Yanis Daras, to give you also a small memory for this day. Yanis. Thank you very much. Your things is here. We will keep in touch. Thank you very much. Now, what you all wait, we will have our panel. Gender inequality in sport media coverage. We have 6 ladies. We have Evelyn Vata, Zsuzsa Chistu, Petra Toren, Hailun Chi, Alessandra Del Stefano, Kenya Torres. Please join me at the stage. And please, gentlemen, ladies are on time and have some understand. Please, I will say again, Evelyn Vata, Zsuzsa Chistu, Petra Toren, Hailun Chi, Alessandra De Stefano, Kenya Torres, and my colleague, Alessandra is not, but my colleague, Vincent Deluc, will moderate this. Vincent? Is Vincent here? He was here. So. Okay, Naiden will moderate it. He's here. No, he's here. Vincent Deluc. So only one lady will not come. Vincent, this is your place. Yes, you are moderator.
No, the moderator.
Yes.
I am the moderator.
You are moderator.
Yeah.
She's a moderator.
Good Good afternoon. Thank you for the opportunity, and welcome, ladies and very strong gentlemen who is happy to be able to keep up with us. And I'll start with him. We'll go right into the introductions. So Vincent, kindly introduce yourself briefly, what you do, and why you're interested in our women in sport. Microphone.
Good afternoon, everybody. So I'm Vincent Duluc. I'm the president of the French Sport Journalists Association. I'm quite an old journalist in football, as Petra knows. It will be my 10th World Cup in Qatar, and I'm very interested by the rise of the women's sport in media, and we are working in France very closely with some women's association to increase the number of women journalists in sports. In France, we have 3,000 sport journalists and only 10% of women. So we have to understand, everyone has to understand that it is a new world, and that we have to deal with it. And it is the same for the mediatization of the women's sports.
Thank you, Vincent. Hylun?
Hi, I'm Helen from Chinese Taipei. Actually, it's Taiwan. Yeah, now I'm a freelancer. I have a chance to be here. I'm so honored. And later I'll introduce our magazine, Women in Sports. Hope you like it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. My name is Ruja Chistu. I have been an AC member of AIPS and still is running for vice presidency tomorrow. And probably you know my mission because I was very clear on that 5 years ago when I had the opportunity to start working with the AIPS executive committee, that I would really, really like to help and to assist female sport journalists to get a little closer within this community, to give them a chance to work with us, to be acknowledged in what they're doing. And I think most of all is the most important, which is I would say my credo, is that a woman shouldn't be there in this profession because she's a woman, but she's good enough and talented enough that it shouldn't be an obstacle that she is a woman. So this is one of my most important thoughts about it. And I think it is a lot to do of the topic that we are talking today, the visibility of women in sports media as well, because I think it's just as important.
Thank you. And Kenya? Like Kenya?
Hola, buenas tardes. Mi nombre es Kenia Torres.
Good evening. My name is Kenia Torres. I come from Honduras. Honduras is a wonderful country from Central America. We have wonderful beaches, so much tourists. 53% is made up of women. But in the sports field, we have 12 women at national level. I was one of the pioneers. I'm the president of the Honduras Sports Press Association, and today and I was elected as a president, as treasurer. So thank you.
Petra?
Yes, so is this not working? Yeah, it's working now.
Yeah, it's working.
Yeah, you hear me? Okay, fine. So I'm Petra Torren, long-time working sports journalist since 30 years around. Working for Aftonbladet, is the biggest newspaper in Scandinavia, actually. And I've been there since those, 25 years or something like that. And when I started it, we were not so many women writing sports, of course, but now we have a different situation in Sweden. I think we are quite well known in the world for being an equal gender country, and there's a lot of women covering sports. I myself I covered football, so it's the very, very male soccer. environment that I've been in for a while and for a long time. But still, we have some problems to get women stay for many years, because it's difficult to combine the work with a social life. So we have to work on that all the time. I'm also a president in the Swedish Sport Federation. Actually, Lisa was before me. You might met her. So it's the second women in a row, and we have had a lot of women working in the federations during the years.
Great, thank you. As you've heard, it's quite a diverse panel, and I will be here as a moderator, but I'm also speaking on behalf of my African colleagues. I am Evelyn Wata from Kenya. I've been a journalist for the last, 20 years, sports journalist only, and I'm currently working for Olympics.com and the Olympic Channel in Madrid. And I've been your vice president for the last 4.5 years or 5. Maybe we've exceeded our term. I've even lost counts. And as the ladies and the gentlemen has mentioned, today we are trying to focus on how we as sports media portray female athletes, women in sports in our media. How do we cover them? How do we write about them? How do we interview them? How do we photograph them? Does it help promote women in sport? Does it make my daughter, by reading the newspaper, want to become a female athlete? So this is what we will be focusing on with this panel. But this is very interactive. Please feel free to contribute, because what I'm hoping from this, what we are hoping, is to try and probably prepare a document that we can circulate amongst all our members, just to help have a better guideline, in how we portray our women in sport. This is something that is not new, it's not unique. The IOC prepared a document, I think 2-3 years ago, which was circulated amongst a few journalists, and it has really helped. Like at the channel, we now keep track of how many articles we've done or how many videos we've done that include women and men, and then have a look every month. We try to see what is the percentage of women's sports we covered, how was the reception by our viewers, how was it received by the readers, and how can we improve? So I'll start with a quote before I go to the panelists. It is as much as who you show, write, or talk about, as much as you show them, write, broadcast, or talk about. It's the images, the photos, and voices that we use. It's also about the context and the framing, because that's where the problem lies. And we, as sports media, have been accused of trivializing women in sports and portraying them as sexy. Oh, she's so cute. Oh, wow, she's such a beautiful athlete. Instead of celebrating them for their strength, their skills, she's such a talented runner or a talented footballer, the way we do with our men. What has been your observation, ladies and gentlemen, from your area, from your countries, from your region with this? I will start with my region in Kenya and in Africa. It's improving, but there's still a big room for improvement, because as you know, Africa we have different regions. So we have the Franco, the Anglo, the Muslims, the Christians, and then there's the Portuguese. It's all very different and diverse. But one thing is that women in sports on our medias is still lagging very much behind. I'll give you an example that was based on a survey done in Kenya just after the Rio Olympics. We had more women winning medals after the Rio Olympics, but the survey done from the top 3 newspapers in Kenya had more men being photographed, more men being covered at the Rio Olympics than the women who actually won more medals. How is it for you? I'll start with you, Petra, closest to me.
There's still some work to do, even if we are, I suppose, if you compare with the international media, we are in the front of covering of both gender. But it's also, I mean, every day when I go into the website of Aftonbladet, my own newspaper, I feel a bit embarrassed, because it's a lot of of men on the both on the photos and in the articles. So we, for example, at our paper, we have like, you know, a reminder every day, you know, of the gender, how could we act and how can we work to get more equal, both analyses and articles. But there is also a point that's important for me. I mean, I have male colleagues, my dear colleagues, the men's working for me beside me at Aftonbladet or other newspapers in Aftonbladet that are writing and expressing themselves more female, if I can put it like that, than I do. So I think it's not just a question of being a woman writing, it's the way of choosing your perspective as a journalist when you go to a World Cup, when you go to Olympics. So for me, it's also that you as a journalist, we are all journalists here, I suppose, hardworking journalists, members of AIPS, working every day with those issues. You can always go to yourself reminding you, okay, I've been doing this technical analysis on the football game, but can I do something else? Can I go outside, you know, looking for some angle, something else that's important? It doesn't have to be smooth and passion and the thing of how to say the subjects that also attracts other readers, the female readers, doesn't have to be done by female, but it has to be something else than the normal traditional sports journalists.
Thank you. And maybe let's continue on with Kenya.
Debo decir que en mi país ser mujer no.
Well, I have to say that in my country, being a woman is easy. It's not easy, and I'm going to into detail later. Violence is structured, is complex, and we women must fight hard in this sense. According to statistics of one of the most important universities of my country, the data show a decline over the last months, but at the end of 2021, every 24 hours, one woman died, killed by a man. So we have a very hard challenge ahead of us, waiting for us. So in terms of sports journalism, I started when I was about 23 in TV channels, and we might say that the participation of women was not accepted. We had to break this barrier, and we did it because we were prepared, because we studied hard, and because we were passionate about this work. We started slowly appearing on media, and at the beginning, we were considered as some nice, cute girls, the one who receives messages, the one who receives calls. But we finally managed to sit next to those who were carrying out the technical analysis. And this is how we slowly gained our space. We had lots of support from women in the societies, and so much that at the end of last year, during an historical voting, we elected the very first female president in Honduras, and this gave us great hope. We women keep on fighting to finally have our space, not just in journalism, but in general within the society. And this is a result that has given us so much satisfaction, especially, having a female president, a woman who we know will keep on fighting for our rights, for equality, and to crush our barriers that we have to face as women.
Susie, you are an athlete. Did you find yourself often being compared to some other male athlete or male gymnast? Like, I remember Serena Williams saying, I'm a female, I'm an athlete, but as I'm right here now, I'm an athlete first. look at me as an athlete. And I think there was also another tennis player, Azarenka, who had to come out and say, I don't identify on the tennis courts as a mother. I still identify myself as one of the greatest tennis players, and me having qualified for the quarters is not because of my motherhood, it's because of I'm a talented tennis player. Is this something you encountered?
Yes, Evelyn, thank you so much. And I'm always very relieved and very happy when I can find pioneers in other parts of the world, like what we've just been heard. These stories, really, I think we really need to hear those stories. Actually, on 1st of October, it was the 30th anniversary. I have started working as a member of the Hungarian national team sports department. It's hard to believe even for myself, but that was it. As you were right, back then it was absolutely an unusual phenomenon to have a female on screen. And what you were mentioning, Evelyn, it's also very true, being compared to male in many situations. I don't know if you have a chance. I prepared a very, very short, like a short PPT with just 2 or 3 slides, because it's so typical, and some informations I really like to actually have factual facts in my hands, not to talk in the air. So I like to make some research work. I don't know, Azra, if we have a chance to show it.
We'll not show anything for now.
If we don't,
at the end,
anyway, there are some very talkative statistics about how things are looking like. And as our president from the French Association said, this is basically the general number that out of 10 sport journalists, there is only 1 female worldwide. So this is the number worldwide. First of all. Second of all, it's also very important to know that the leaders of the media outlets in sports, 95% of that are male, 95%. So basically what we're talking about is, it's just, we can go ahead, because I think for the comparison, there is a very, very typical sentence. You can go for the next slide, of course. This is just the opening. Can we just, because I don't have any.
I think we'll not go to the presentation now because of time, and we are 7. So just to sum up, at least, what has been your experience?
Yes.
Have you had to probably write, even on your writing, trying to say, how can I put it? She's the next Usain Bolt. She's the next Ronaldo.
Of course. So I think this is something that one of the most difficult thing is to be accepted as us, as female athletes. This is the sentence I wanted to show you. As Simone Biles said, I'm not the next Usain Bolt or Michael Phelps. I'm the first Simone Biles. Exactly. So I think this is something that is so talkative about how female athletes have to sort of find their position and their acceptance in sports. And this is just as important. If I go back to my previous thought, is that it's very difficult when you have in a sports media outlet at least 95% of male leaders to sort of change the view of things, and to have women covered in the same amount on media as men, because male, I would say, leaders are working for male audience usually. However, I think it's just as competitive to show women from the technical point of view, from the acceptance of the performance, how well a female athlete can perform. And I would like to emphasize this, because what Evelyn was saying is, this is our responsibility, how we interpret basically what we see on screen, how we write about it, what the verbs and what basically the interpretation of what we are talking about, the performance, the perfection of the performance, of the beauty of the athlete, as you were talking about. So I think as we are shaping and forming the way of communication, the way of expressions, how we are talking about the performance and the perfection of a female athlete on the pitch, I think this is definitely is able to sort of change the view even of the viewers, even of the readers, even of the listeners. So this is a responsibility that we have to recognize, and we have to sort of act that way. And also, if we are able to change the number of participants in the leading position in sport journalism, I think that can help to find the female voice. I don't want to resemble to my male colleagues because I can't. They do it in a different way. I'm probably good in something else. I have an ability to talk to an athlete in a different manner, but that's my voice. And I think that voice has a place in this business.
Great.
And that is something that I would like to represent in this field.
Thank you so much. Hailun, do you acknowledge that how we cover, as Susie says, affects how women in sport is portrayed in our medias? You know, how if we keep comparing them, you know, if we keep saying, here is the next Usain Bolt, she's the next Michael Phelps, she's the next, you know, Ronaldo. Do you think if we can change that tone, it can help?
I think we couldn't just talk. We should do something to change. For example, how many women here? No, there's one from Hong Kong, Faye, and you have the power, so you have to change it. That's what we think, and that's why we create this magazine. Actually, it's a platform. We think that strong woman, better world. So we think we should make more role model, like all this to be seen. So we create this, and lucky we get support from AIPS Asia, our president Saddam Hidong, and many colleagues, also many friends, not only Asia, actually Johnny support us. So allow me to read this, the Women in Sports magazine. Women in Sports is the media platform recognized by AIPS Asia and is devoted to promoting gender equality in sports by presenting outstanding performance and recognizing solid contribution from female sports participants in Asia, not only Asia. This platform will focus not only the on-field achievement by female athletes, but efforts, contributions, and impacts from female coaches, referees, journalists, photographers, event staff, volunteers, behind the scenes personnel, and more. Now it's the third issue. If you like it, I actually have some in Rome.
Great.
That's why I have 2 big luggages.
Great.
Yeah, I'll, if you are interested in it, I will send you. And I think it's long time work to do. So we should do it together, right? Thank you.
I agree, Vincent. You know, as she says, there are very few female in this room, but there are more men. And that's why we're having this discussion, because you control your newspapers, you control the radio, sports desks, the TV stations, and the online. How can we move away from this, you know? How can, there's been an emphasis on having more role models, but we can only have those role models if we report about the stars. How can we move away from this comparison and always trying to celebrate the male when you're talking about the female athlete?
Well, I think we all can do better. I've grown in the old world, and I can see the new world. So something has changed already, but it has to change more and more. In France, we are studying the landscape of the French journalism. So in each media, we do the list of the woman's position, the salary, all things like this, to to know exactly on one point we can act. So we have written a chart that I think the editor-in-chief, we hope editor-in-chief will sign to have more and more women in the sports redaction. But if I take the example of l'équipe right now, I think in the other sports than football, I think it's okay. Maybe there is 30% of women. So I think it's much better than before. But if I take the example of football, there will be 30 journalists in Qatar, and only one woman. So we have to do much better than this. But maybe it's football, but we have to change this, of course. And the problem is in l'équipe that it's mainly women who are working about women football, and I think it's not a good idea. We have to change the world much more than we did already. But we work with a female sports journalist association, and we have to go in the schools of journalism. And in the school already, it is quite the same proportion. There's only 10 or 15% of students who want to become sport journalists. So we have to change before to be able to change the world after.
Thank you very much. So we've heard about the role models, having more women, which has come across the panel. And just recently when the World Athletics Championships were held in Oregon in the US, Michael Johnson, the Olympic champion, pointed the fact that the 100 meters women has been one of the most exciting races, I think, since Rio 2016. But the coverage and even the celebration the female athletes are getting is nothing compared to what Bolt after just 4 years. So that is something that we need to change, and you need to change it, because you need to write more about Shelly Ann. You keep writing about her as a mother, Mama Rocket. But it's not about her being the mother that is making her a star. It's about her being a great 100-meter star. Is this something you think we can do to change Petra? Just trying to celebrate our skills on the field more than what off the field.
For me, it's a little bit awkward because I think that actually in Sweden, we when I write female football, I write it as I write the men football. So we had some issues with the Swedish national team actually in the beginning when we started to approach them with the hard journalists because there are in the Swedish football, in women football, some really strong women taking the lead in really important issues, and they have moved UEFA and FIFA a little bit forward in those questions. But when it came to our way of making our columns about them and the news about them, and we were treating them as the men's football team. We were trying to get the secrets, looking behind the doors and things like that. They were reacting, but now it's they're used to it. Kind of okay. You want to be in the paper as much as the man. You have to kind of handle the pressure from the journalists. But so I think for me, in the country I work in, like in Norway, we are a little bit past the way of discussing how to describe, because we are actually behind that, I think, hopefully. But what I would like to say is also that you can talk about changing, you can talk about role models, and I mean, I've been here for 30 years, but still it's very much up to the people in the highest positions in the media organizations in every country. And I'm really glad to hear about the way you work in France, because sometimes you need, I don't like the quote system or something like that, but you need to kind of make the platform for the women to come into the sports, to make an equal, because every organization that is a famous organization, and you we all know that the money rules in the sport. So what we write is what the readers want, and it's what's get us paid in the end. But to get a change, I think, and still in Sweden, we have to have women, an organization, a successful organization with a mix of gender, a mix of generation, a mix of age, of experience. And of course, we can't have just big media organization with just men sitting in the top position. So everyone has to ask themselves, do I want this change? Because my opinion, the men are often a little bit more interested in the power position. And everyone has to see that it's a long fight to get to the highest positions, and maybe it's better to work to do the on-foot ground journalism. So I think it's good to put the face in the mirror and say, okay, what can I do to make this environment at my sports desk more welcoming to both young, to both different culture and people from the different genders. So maybe we have a homework to do, everyone, even me.
Yeah, and just sticking on what Petra has highlighted, Vincent, is this something that you're willing to do? Like, for instance, in L'Equipe, have you been able to see more women sitting on the top positions of your sports desk? And are you willing to check or change your context to be able to boost women in sports coverage?
Yes, but I think it has to. Well, it's always the same. We don't know if we have to push or if we have to just, not on the will, just to wait. But I think we have to push a little bit. And right now, there is one woman who is a editor-in-chief. So she's number 3 or 4 of the newspaper. It's not enough, but it's a beginning. She's the first one. She's the first one in 60 or 70 years. So we cannot be proud of it. There should have been much more. But I think it's a beginning, and there is quite a change. And I think L'Equipe will be the first to sign the new chart with this association of women sport journalists. There are 300 in France in this association. So I think they are. It is a game changer, this association, because they knock every door and they are all together and they make some noise. And well, we are the old male and we had to listen to her, of course.
And Susie, do you think there's probably lack of interest amongst even the women to rise up and boost women in sports?
Well, I think there are a lot of factors to that. First of all, I think it's not enough to encourage young women who are interested in sports to become a sport journalist. What we studied and made serious steps, for example, in Hungary, we established with the Physical Education University and also with the Hungarian Sport Journalists Association, the first graduate student sports media university. And we found it very interesting to recruit a young female to become a graduate student in a university level to become a sport journalist. Why we thought this would be important? Because we thought if you graduate as a sport journalist amongst young men, as a female, then definitely gives you a base as a confidence between and among male journalists, that you finished the same education. You've got all those skills that you are supposed to have when you step out basically in the field of media. So I think encouragement just to talk about it is not enough. You have to take actions. You have to sort of take a step forward. And of course, when you have graduated youngsters, of course, you have to help them to start their work in the field of media, to be out there, to try to recruit them into editorial offices, to start to get them to work as youngsters, as young reporters, and to actually get to know how is it in the real media. This is the first thing. The other thing is probably that's the reason is why women are sort of afraid of this this step to take a higher position in an editorial office is because it doesn't really have a history. I mean, to be a pioneer like you were yourself, you have to have sort of a courage to do that, because I'm sure you will be, a center of criticism if you're doing something in an unusual way. But I think unusual is not supposedly bad. This is something that we have to change as a mindset in a way, how we approach women leaders in sport journalism. So I think, of course, I definitely see the change surely, or slowly, but surely. So it's not going to be a quick process, because acceptance of women in sport journalism, as we have been doing it for decades, it's a long process. It has to come from the viewers, from the readers, from the listeners, and of course it has to come from the male colleagues. But I do believe that if you're doing your job on a highly competitive level, then I think it will work finally. And of course, it's really more important is that female should not be enemy of female, because I think we are very few of it. And we are working in a male-dominated environment, but it doesn't mean that it wouldn't be good to see another talented female on the field. So I think that's how we can work together to assist and to help each other.
Very interesting. And I'll come to you, Kenya and Hailun. I'll give you my own experience. I remember someone in this room, I don't know if he or she is here, once told me something that knocked me off, and I realized that it's the same case that happens to the female athletes. The person told me, we don't celebrate ourselves as much even after our great achievements. We are shy to even say what I do. And, it was like a slap. And I realized that in Africa, as much as we want to cover the good female athletes, they are shy. It is not in our culture to come out and talk about our strengths. We are not actually even allowed to, sometimes you find it even hard to look at a man, because most of the reporters in Africa are male sports reporters, to look at them and tell them our stories. Sometimes you cannot even have an eye contact because it is considered disrespectful. Is this something, Kenya and Hailun, you've experienced in South America and in Asia? What other things, what other factors? Does culture, maybe something, character, play a role in holding back the women from stepping forward and sharing their stories? Can start.
Okay. Antes respecto a lo que decías, la presencia.
So first of all, I would like to tell you about my experience, an experience that I lived in Honduras. And my experience was a problem of costs, because we had a very experienced person in the World Cup. It was me, because I started working when I was 17. I took part in a panel in the World Cup in 1998, so it was a very important experience for me. And it was the very first time that a woman could actually reach such an important position in national and international TV coverage. So this participation labeled me as the expert of World Cups. But I was accredited to World Cup, and 2 months before that, we had a problem with costs, because I was a woman and I could not share the room with the technician. So this would increase the budget. So I had to wait, and eventually during World Cup in Brazil 2013, I managed to get there. But it was a very long wait. So what I want to say is that sooner or later, your time will come. We should never give up, because sometimes when situations are hard, we might feel discouraged. But little by little, even in Honduras, more and more people got into sport journalism. And I have to admit myself that I had a great support from my male colleagues. They helped me get into this field, but not everybody had this context and this luck. Most of my female colleagues, they lived a completely different situation. That's why they were about to give up on their dreams. So we launched this program, Football Betacon, which is a national program, and all women interested in sport journalism could join this program. It was an educational program, a radio program that went on for 10 years. Then, unfortunately, with the pandemic, we had to stop it, but we're still present on Facebook, so you could totally follow us if you'd like to. If you like the page, we'll be very happy. And yes, it's a school managed by women for women, and it was such a great success because most of the women that participated could actually get to very interesting careers. And we felt united. We felt all of us as a whole. That's how we like to think of ourselves. So we support each other. We are guided by sorority spirit. It's like feeling identified together with all the women because we all face together certain issues and challenges. So it's important to promote even globally these kind of encounters, meetings, seminars, because I firmly believe that if we support each other, we could get to very important achievements. And so that meetings like this could have more and more women every day.
What has been your experience in Asia? Do you find like the male athletes are easily available for interviews and are happy to come forward and share their stories compared to the female athletes, or this does not really happen in your experience?
But Asia is big, so the situation is complicated. In different countries, I think a different situation. In Taiwan, I think we have more chance to participate, but in many countries, maybe they don't have the chance to participate. And the chance is important. If you don't have chance, how do you learn? How do you improve? How do you experience? So I think the key is give the female chance to join, to participate. Yeah, that's my opinion.
Okay, so I'll now like to just take a break and go to the people in the crowd if anyone has a comment or question to ask any of them before we come back to them for their closing remarks. We've heard about, we have to check our words, we have to check our context, we have to boost women in sports media to be able to boost. What more? Maybe there's a question or a compliment, I think from here. Microphone, please. I can give you this.
Hi everyone, I'm Lorraine Cunningham. I come from Malta. I'm General Secretary of the Malta Sports Journalists Association. When I came, this is my second AIPS Congress, and yesterday when I came in, I looked around and I said, where are the women? There are more women up on stage than there are in this Congress, which is very, I think it's not on. We are in 2022, and there should be more women. Is AIPS giving opportunities to the women in their countries to sit on their associations, executive committees? I don't think so. I come from a small country, and I've had the opportunity. When one thinks about it, when a woman holds a position, it means that she's very good. And she is there because she merits to be there. Sometimes, unfortunately, men hold positions because they've been holding it for a very long time, or they have connections. And I think you are agreeing because I can see you smiling about it. In 2019, I had the opportunity to be part of an international meeting, 60 women sports journalists. We got together we went to the United States and we spent 1 month sharing experiences. And women were of all ages, coming from all backgrounds. And one of the things that we were discussing is about what you started out with, is about how women athletes are reported. Whilst men are reported because of their exploits, women, most probably the title will say, mother of 3 breaks record, instead of breaking the record, which is not on. It only means that female athletes have a harder job to achieve their goals, because apart from being an athlete, an elite athlete, they also have their families to take care of, which makes the exploit even greater than a man's exploit. And I think because many say also behind a great man, there's always a greater woman. So I think we women should stick together and report our female athletes more than the men. Because I did that. I opened a page which just reports female athletes. It's called The Queens of Sport, and I think the few women who are here should give an example about that.
Thank you. I think I'm in a position to be able to respond to 2, first as AIPS and first as your colleague in sports media. I think we realize that we are not able to do it on our own as sports media in women, as sports women in media. In Africa, for instance, those of you who have seen, there are more female sports reporters than men, especially radio or even TV. But still, the coverage of women is down. So that is why we are throwing it to the men as well. They have to come and report, because we are doing great things. We have athletes across all sports doing all things. And within AIPS, what are we doing? I'll throw it back to the national associations. How many national associations have even at least 2 women in the executive committees? But just a show of hands here. I'll put it 4, 3, sorry, 3. Let's go to 3. You see, it drops, but you have 10. Yes, French, how many? Just like Kenya. I think Kenya we have 5 out of 9. 4. So you see, it starts from the national associations. That's very good. How many associations, France included, sent a woman who is not a secretary general or a president to the AIPS Congress? Please lift your hands. Only 1, 2, and 3, Malta. 4, Serbia. So we are 4. You see? This is where the problem lies. It is not. It has to start with us. You have to give up your space in the AIPS Congress for someone else to come and attend. Yeah, because, no, I'm just saying. I'm saying, first of all, you have to get the chance to come from our national associations. That's it. In Kenya, for instance, the president and the secretary general came, but they sent a female person. So that's what has to also happen for us. Even in the elections tomorrow, how many women are candidates in the AIPS executive? How many are we? Here it is. Exactly. So we also have to stop being shy.
No, sorry, Evelyn, I have to remind you that personally, 8 years ago, I began to tell, let's begin with the quotas of women in the executive to continue better. You didn't want the quotas, and we are exactly as before. So it's your fault. I'm sorry. On this,
and I will take it back to what she mentioned.
Because
you will have all the women sitting on the executive committee and not attending the Congress. With the quotas.
You women, the problem of you women is that sometimes you don't want to listen, and you want only to do what you like.
Okay.
It's different. Sometimes you have also to eat something bitter to reach a point. It's not so easy because, every time I have proposed something, here the women They don't pay their accommodation. They're free for charge. We are helping everything. But you girl, you're not helping them. Sorry. Are the women that are against the modernization of the situation? I'm completely against this idea.
I can definitely see an improvement, as I said.
Sorry, because if not, it looks that you are the victim and we are always the...
No, we are, actually, I don't think
sorry,
what I'm saying is I can see an improvement. Today's voting in the European continent definitely proves that we are probably approaching this question from a much better perspective, which I'm very, very happy about. Going back to your comment, and I was very happy about it, how to report about female athletes and how much actually we covered them. Going back to my research work, which was on some statistics, there's a European, of course, it's not a worldwide, but I think it's quite usual. There is a number in percentage how much female results and achievements we actually include in sports news. Do you have a tip? How much would that be in European average?
Yes,
12%. Only 12% female results and achievements are actually included in sports news. I'm not talking about featured stories whatsoever. Sports news. News is basically selling an athlete, right? If you want to have female athlete role models, we have to talk about them. And I think the problem is that sometimes it's underestimated that the female athlete role models, what kind of strength they could have economically, that there is a huge strength out there in female, for example, customers, whoever would like to follow a good female athlete, especially if they know about her. Because if we don't know about her results, if we don't hear about her achievements, how can we follow her? Of course, social media has been changing that kind of inequality, but we are working in real media, right? I mean, of course, we all have social media outlets, that is working together with our normal media. But I think this is our job in the first place, to try to change this percentage, to try to sort of equalize this inequality, how much and how well we are talking about female sports achievements, just even in the news.
Great.
Thank you.
I like what she's pointed out, tracking our output, If we track, we'll come down to even less percentage than what you're actually pointing out. Petra had something to add on to this before we move as we wrap up.
I would just like to say that I think that, in Sweden, for example, we are 4 persons also in the board, female, but for me, I do not that much difference of women or men. I mean, it's important with a mixed organization, and if we find out that there are not enough women in AIPS as an organization, for example, then we have to ask ourselves, is this the organization that are open-minded, modern, changing, and is it the organization that is attractive to the female sports journalist, or is it more important to go with 60 other females somewhere else? So it all starts with yourself. Are you open-minded to make the difference? Then the difference will come in the future. And I think that, I put a lot of effort in working 100% and a little bit more, and I have my football team that I coach, boys, not pretty old boys, and as everyone else, we do this at our spare time. It costs money to sit here because I should be home working instead. Okay, so I'm here to find that it's important to share whatever I can share from my experience. But what I mean is that sometimes I feel that women maybe not have the time You know, when if you're working 100% and then you do some other things, you don't have the time to put into to like idle free working for the international questions of journalism. So maybe have to create other modern ways of working, more digital media, less traveling. I thought the pandemic was terrifying for us, everyone, but the good thing was meeting with so many women on the digital meeting that you had, sitting there in my home office, talking to someone from the other side of the world. So I think we have to find a more modern way of navigating through the landscape, and that will also make more women, I think, coming into this kind of organizations.
Great. Can I tell something? Okay. Go ahead, and then we.
Okay. Thank you. We are talking about gender inequality, as you remember, a long time, maybe 10 years, always. And of course, we don't need a quota. For example, me, I never was pushed from men to a high position. And I was a head of sports in Lithuanian television long years. And I was a president of Sports Journalists Federation of Lithuania, also 3 cadences. And I had any problems, never, to take interview or to make report or to get my own program, never. So you need to be very strong, but it's different in Europe and it's different in Africa or in Asia. And I remember, okay, I think I had no problem in Europe to go to Olympic Games, to European Championships, but when I was in Iran and when I will be accredited to Iran to cover something, not a football, of course, it is forbidden for women. And I want now to say that just now, few minutes ago, 40 minutes ago, Amini died. And unfortunately, we didn't have any women from Iran. And what is going in Iran? We need to talk about this, how we can help these women. She dead now. I want just maybe, Johnny, you will tell, maybe we can say something or just stand up.
Okay.
And
thank you, Laima. We certainly acknowledge, and I've been following that particular point and following that, the developments in Iran, Tehran. It's quite sad, but I'll kindly allow me to wrap up and draw you back to our point of discussion, which is on the women portrayal, women in sports portrayal. So we've heard from the panel talking about we have to take action, and part of taking action starts with you, because I always like to give this good example of Getty Images. Getty Images now has a section dedicated to women in sports where you can find good imagery of women in sports. Then we've heard from, I think one of either Vincent or I'm not sure who, kindly forgive me. It's about checking our words, checking the context we use. As we wrap up, I'd like each of you probably to just pick one point, what would you want someone in this room to do to boost the coverage of women in sport? Let me start with Vincent.
I thought I would have more time to think about it, because I have no idea. If I had an idea, I would have done something already. I think it's very difficult to. It's quite difficult. But, well, the Olympic Games in Paris will be the first one with equality. With women the first one in history. So everything changes, and I think it will improve. But when you said that there was some in the news, there was no equality at all. I think it's all about football. Football is maybe 80% of the news. So of course, male football is 95% of the news in the football. So, but we can see the rise of women's football. Now it's professional in 4 countries: in Italy, in Spain, in England. No, in 3 countries: Italy, Spain, and England. So I think it will change the conversations we have about sport. And I think this is the only thing we can change, but I think we have to change together. It's difficult to ask only one in the assembly.
Thank you, Hailun. Briefly.
Yeah, I think let's try to change in a mindset. Yeah, raising awareness is the first step towards gender equality.
Thank you. Susie, briefly.
Thank you. Well, I think it's the first and foremost important is to see the athlete in female, to see the achievement, to see the performance, to see the effort, what she has been put into the performance. And I'm usually covering artistic sports like gymnastics, figure skating, and whatsoever. You know, of course, we tend to use terms that is close to art rather than sport, which I think is okay because it's the nature of those sports. But I think it's also just as important to see in other sports as well the athlete in a woman, not just a woman, not just a female, but the athlete.
Thank you very much, Susie. Kenya.
Yo digo que Well, I would say that some walls were broken. We eliminated some stereotypes. We are here, so we are visible. But now what we have to do is to call on other women through our association. So I would thank my colleagues from AIPS America for the opportunity I was given. This would be a first step to keep on growing. We have to continue fighting also for the salary gap. This is a huge, huge problem. Women in the same position as men that keep on earning way less than their colleagues do. In some countries, women are heroes. Women that work against project. A woman that has fought to promote and protect forests, women involved at historical level in huge projects. So I really hope our next Congress will see a bigger female participation.
Okay, so I will point out, you said one, I make it...
Two or three, yeah.
Two
Quick
or
ones.
three, yes.
Yeah.
So first of all, we know everyone's working as journalists, we know that a good story is a good story, eh? So that's what we are looking for every game, every time, every championship we go to. So I imagine that there are as many good stories regarding women in sports as in the men's section, okay? So decide to have every day a good story about someone from a woman from the sport. It could be a team, it could be a mother, it could be a young girl. So that's why you decide and you find the story. If you start to look for it, you will find the story. So that's one. And two, sometimes the good stories that will attract our readers to be both women, men actually, is the issues that can attract also women readers. So we have done football players that stay home actually when they're sick with their kids. Okay, so that's kind of the story. I went the last week with the second team in the Swedish league right now, BK Häcken. They're fighting for winning the goal. I was spending one day with them, and actually I was in a yoga practice with them. Quite unusually, they are doing this like a mental training, and that's also like a subject. So find the subject. So first find a good story on a woman, and then find a subject, men, women, and share it. That's a good start.
And that's a very good place to wrap up this. And I think I'll only add one, which probably was emphasized by Vincent. As much as we want equal participation, we must also try to get equal coverage. As much as you cover your female, the male football, for instance, let's try and also get even 40% of women football league. It can start from that low level. I like what the big city marathons are doing. Sometimes it's annoying, but it is good. Like London Marathon the other day covered same amount of time for women races as the same as male. That is a start. Please help us in this. Thank you very much. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Ladies and gentlemen, please stay here a little bit. Our first vice president will give you a little bit of memories for this, and thank you very much for this. Yes, for this wonderful panel. Of course, it was a little bit longer. We give women more time than ever.
But we definitely have to give the credit to AIPS that we can talk about these very important matters. Thank you.
Yes. And of course, thank you very much. This is for 6 of them. Our first vice president, Mr. Esad Yilmer from Turkey. Please rise up because they want to picture you and you will not sit. No problem for that. He would like that, of course, and a special. Please take a picture for that, and please. Please, can I ask just Kenya to stand here, to stay here, because there is also a special trophy for Kenya only. Because South Americans Association would like to give a special trophy, but after this lovely picture. I would ask, okay, I will wait. Thank you. I will ask Mr. Moses Avalos Ruiz, from President of Nicaragua Association, to give a special trophy to Kenia Torres from Honduras. She was the best sport journalist in Honduras, and she will get a trophy named Abelardo Raidi. Abelardo Raidi was the founder of AIPS America, but it is a little bit short of place, so we will wait it. No, they will come up. And Mr. Moses Avalos Ruiz will give that. This trophy was meant to be presented in 2020, but because of the COVID, it is presented right now. And of course, the president of South America's. Perfect. Thank you. Thank you very much. But we are not done with ladies. No, of course, we are not done. Rita Leguma had a very, very interesting presentation. Rita, you are with us, yes? Please, come here.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you very much, AIPS, for giving us an opportunity, especially the young reporters. I'm one of the first young reporters for AIPS. I started in 2011, and I'm very happy that a lot has come out of me just because of the experience that I got from the Shenzhen University. I founded the Aliguma Foundation, an NGO that uses sports to address challenges in different communities in Uganda. And I'll not take so much time. Let us have the video play, so then I can conclude with that.
When I was growing up, my passion was journalism. And when I was growing up, my desire was to have like an orphanage or always to help out children or people in communities. So in 2017, that is when I decided to officially register a foundation under my name, Aliguma, which is geared towards helping women in communities or in slums and their children. But I realized that, okay, since I'm a sports person with a sports background, why not use sport to bring change in these communities?
Transforming life through sports, giving rise to a mother and child through self-help programming, and enterprising skills to live a better life and make the world a better place. The foundation is a place where we all belong. A foundation is a place where we grow together. The love of Christ.
We have supported over 500 projects that have benefited over 2.2 million children. We have also been supporting for a couple of years now the Aliguma Foundation in Uganda, in Kampala. The Aliguma Foundation is a very good partner for us that is actually working along our lines and is using sport to change the lives of children in the Acholi Quarter slums in Kampala. We have had so far a very good exchange, and we have a very good partnership with the foundation, and we support them as good as we can, and we really appreciate the work that the Aliguma Foundation is doing in these projects, and we hope that we can continue our partnership for many years to go.
One is not always happy when one is good, but one is always good when one is happy. One is not always happy when one is good, but one is always good when one is happy. Transforming communities, and then we believe we can achieve this, and then the foundation is a place where we all belong. The foundation is a place where we grow together, as we share, as we care, the love of Christ.
Thank you very much. Well, I think the video says it all, but we've reached out to different communities. We've reached out at least to over 500 girls and women in our country, not leaving out the boy child. We have been running the girl child campaign, but it all started with a young girl we found at one of our slum soccer tournament finals who had been sexually abused by an uncle several times. So we started the girl child campaign. It's been running and it's going on, and we target to reach out to at least over 2 million girls and women in Uganda. Our emphasis now is on firstly, the Empowerment Center. We want to build the Empowerment Center where we can have different kids skilled, different women skilled in different ways, both in sports and income generating activities. But also, secondly, we are also emphasizing on exchange programs with different countries. Recently, we had a very good exchange program with Crossroads, United States of America, where at least we had 2 girls who successfully did that summer camp. It was really amazing. Now imagine in 2011, when I was voted to attend or to represent Uganda at the Young Reporters Program. It was my first international trip. But now imagine my mother, my father, I think the entire community escorted me to the airport. But now imagine some of the kids who come from such areas, how important it would be, especially with the exchange programs that we are continuing to have, we are continuing to embark on. How would their lives be changed? If my life changed, can't other lives change? Recently, we had Apio Nicole, who attended the Young Reporters Program in Italy here, Udine. She came from the Acholi Quarters slum. It was the biggest event or the biggest celebration that we ever had in this community, having one of their kids come from the slum to an international flight, Italy. It was really very exciting. Even apparently, she's now on one big network in Uganda doing sports and entertainment show, which is really a big plus. Thanks to AIPS for that support as well. But now think about other kids coming from different communities and having these exchange programs. I think it would mean a lot to our country, to even other countries. You never know, maybe even the young reporters across the globe will at one point come visit Uganda and probably maybe visit the Empowerment Center in the near future. We humbly request, or I humbly request, that if you have maybe exchange programs out there with different potential partners or with different individuals or organizations, please, we request you to come on board, to come and be a part of this big dream that we have towards changing lives in different communities. Just in case you have to contact me, you can maybe get us on www.aligumafoundation.org, or I'm still around, or you can contact maybe Gianni Mello. I'm appointing him as my personal assistant today. I'm joking. For any support, please reach out to us. Otherwise, God bless you. Thank you so much for giving us an opportunity.
Of course, Rita was our young reporter. Now she is a very, very successful woman. But I would ask our mentor for young reporters, Mr. Kiradnich, to give a small trophy, so just for being you here. Thank you very much. She really deserves it. Now, we have a very special guest. Thank you, Rita. Now we have a special guest, the president of Italian Olympic Committee. He's coming, he's coming, he's coming, he's coming. Of course, we will wait for him just to say a few words to Gianni first, and then come to us. In the meantime, I will just say again that we get some results from tomorrow's elections. Please inform me immediately about your things, that if you decide to resign, please say it immediately. Gianni, your floor.
No, in this moment, after we have seen, we spoke about women, we spoke about young reporter. The image that came from Uganda were very important. Now I would like to have on the stage with me Mr. Malagò, President of the Olympic Committee, President of the Organizing Committee of Milano Cortina, and President of Agnene Club. What else you have, President, or what?
Most important thing that I'm the president of the friend Gianfranco Coppola, so a very special card. Just underline this title, okay, this role. This is a very, very important. In any case,
first of
thanks. Yes.
Now
you already introduced me.
Yes. No, but I want also to tell, because before we were speaking about women, the importance
very interesting
of women. Yeah, you arrived late. I'm sorry, because there was beautiful women on the stage, and especially they were talking because they're not enough represented in sport. But you have the vice president that is a woman in the Olympic Committee, or not? And how many other women you have inside?
We, in Italy, as the Italian Olympic Committee, we have 2 vice presidents, the deputy and the vice president, Silvia Salis and Claudia Giordani. They are representing a part of us, a part very important, as they are 2 athletes, athletic and skiing, and a lot of persons inside the executive board of Italian Olympic Committee are women. We are very happy as we pushed a lot for changing some rules inside our world. Now, not less than 30% of women are inside represented all the federal executive board inside all the federations. That means that in some discipline, they are more than 50%, maybe soon as possible. Maybe we need to support the male and not the woman. I don't know. In any case,
I am afraid that we are going on this direction.
Yes, could be, of course.
Thanks
to be here.
We are the last of the Mohican, eh? We are the last of the Mohican.
Yes, no. Yes, maybe you, maybe Gianfranco, you're the journalist. No, I'm joking. Thanks to be here, because Italy is in a very peculiar moment, not in politics, because we are accustomed to change quite every year the government. We are exceptional, of course. What is an exception for us is absolutely the normality, but in a peculiar special moment, as right now, I am arriving from Hilton Hotel with a very powerful, prestigious press conference for the Ryder Cup. Today is 1 year to go to the Ryder Cup. I know that all of you know well what is Ryder Cup, the 3rd of the 4th great sport events in the world. We will host it here in Rome at Marco Simoni Court. The captain of the US team told to several sport journalists that Marco Simone is better than Augusta. So this is, for me, was a very important news. But what is my consideration? That Italy is, since the beginning of the modern sport era, we are with a very unique, important track record organizing great sport events. World Championship of all the disciplines, the European, Olympic Games. And more than ever in this moment, we have a very huge offer to all of you for demonstrating this kind of capacity, our ability in organizing great sport events. Gianni Merlo, and of course, who is your president, and Gianfranco, who represent all the Italian sport journalists, know well that is a long journey from now until 4th February of 2026. which is the date of inauguration, the opening ceremony of the Winter Olympic Games in Milano Cortina, is special, very special. It's a different games comparing to all the others. Why? Because it's the first Olympic Games organized by and through the territories. Two cities, Milano, Cortina. In the past, never was the same, just one title, one city, and then two provinces, Alto Adige and Trentino, two regions, Lombardy and Veneto. And of course, why we chose this very strong decision in the bid, in the competition in the June of 2019. Simply because this, for me, I was the president of the organizing committee, this, for me, was the only opportunity, only solution, the only way for be in the condition to host the games without invest too much in consideration of the need about sport venue in a master plan of a Winter Olympic Games. So we decided to go to Anterselva for biathlon, or to Lago di Tesero for ski cross, or to Milano to ice hockey, or maybe to Verona for the closing ceremony for the Paralympic Games. And with this idea, we decided to utilize better as possible all our best practice, where since many years in all these places, in all these venues, we used to organize, I think, with a stronger knowledge, the world championships. So the international federations supported us in this choice. And this example, I think, will be a case, a history case inside the bid of the games. I think, I'm quite sure, as an IOC member, that in the future, a lot of countries, a lot of cities will follow our example. Thanks for your job. Thanks to be close with our world. Thanks to be here. Viva Roma, viva lo sport, viva l'Italia. Grazie.
I have to tell him that even the Olympic Games in these two cities, in this wide region from Lombardia to Veneto, will be also a new kind of challenge for us. Because for the first time, there will be perhaps three press center, and a lot of traveling or other situation. Because now the challenge is that, for example, ski is in two places, women in one place and men in another place. And these are 400 and more kilometers away. No? So it's a challenge also for us, and I think that we will begin the discussion how we can handle together, because the most important thing is to find a solution together to help all the party to be at the top level, because we will go. Today we have seen Qatar is the last, will be the last of the Mohican in a city. Will never happen again, because after the World Cup we'll go in three nations. No, that is even worse. No, 3 nations.
It's not sure, but it's very possible.
and after, before there was some bid. There was one bid with Helsinki, with Östersund, but failed because they were speaking to go by plane. It was difficult in winter. After there was 3 different countries: Slovenia, Italy with Tarvisio, and Austria with Klagenfurt. There were a lot of things. Because in winter I'm an expert, because I'm so old. So I think that this will be very special for us. And I hope that today it can take the promise that we also...
To invite all of you?
No.
To accreditate all of you?
No, to discuss the problems.
To discuss the problems.
So it costs
right
nothing.
now? Right now? No.
It costs nothing.
Next,
This is cost nothing.
Congress.
You know,
okay.
we are not asking free ticket. No.
I will do it. I will promise you. But at the same time, I'm waiting a promise from all of you that you will invite me for the centenary of your Congress, okay?
In Paris.
I just need to wait other 16 years, maybe.
For sure.
Grazie.
Thank you.
Ciao a tutti.
We have something to give to you.
Facciamo una foto?
Sì, facciamo.
Sì.
Cosa?
Una foto.
Ragazzi, devo darti
Yes.
una cosina.
I have a present. A present for me? Just for me? Just for me? Are you sure? Are you sure that it's just for me? No, this is not just for me. I suppose. I suspect. Applause. Thank you. Grazie.
Mettiti in mezzo a noi e poi mettiti in mezzo a noi.
Guido, ma una donna, non ci abbiamo di donna nel... Olimpionica. Seul 88. Seul 88. Please. So it's a demonstration that...
She works in Olympic Channel.
Ah, bravo, vieni qui, Evelyn.
No. Evelyn, dagli.
Evelyn.
Go away.
Yeah, via. Here.
Non vuole bene aperto.
I am traditional, sorry.
You are traditional.
No, sorry for him. I sorry for you. Okay. You hold us. You hold us. Yes.
Yes.
You hold us.
Guys, you have seen that when you give a finger to a woman, you are lost.
Grazie a tutti. Ciao.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
Good luck.
Ciao, grazie.
We will continue. We will continue. Thank you. We will continue our job again about women. Grazie molto. We are continuing with the women, this time UEFA. Women's football, status quo and next steps. Please, Ms. Emma Sykes, Senior Women's Football Development Manager. No, there wasn't. No. Where is Emma? Oh, here she is. Emma, the floor is yours.
So, good afternoon, everybody. I'm delighted to be here with you all this afternoon. Thank you very much to AIPS for the invitation, and thank you for giving me another opportunity to talk some more about women's football. Today, I'm going to take you through a little bit the status quo, the development of the game in Europe, highlight some success stories from what's been a fabulous summer for women's football this year, and also see maybe a little bit what we've got in store for us, what the opportunity is and what is coming next. But before I get into everything, I wanted a little bit to ground us and to be able to kind of showcase a little bit where we're coming from in the women's game so that we can really put into context how amazing this year really has been. So I've just got a few photos for you here. So this image behind me is actually the first ever national team final for women, and it was in 1984. It was in Gothenburg in Sweden. I haven't got a picture of the pitch, but it's only mud. That would never happen today. 16 countries entered this competition. Only 4 made it to a final tournament. So we've gone from days like this to moments like this. I'm sure many of you saw the incredible atmosphere, the scene, and the kind of Euro record-breaking tournament that happened just this summer in England. In the club game, we've gone from Arsenal, well, winning something, but winning in 2007, one of the great last two-legged finals of the Women's Cup, to the kind of extraordinary heights that we saw in the Camp Nou in Barcelona earlier this year, where there was a crowd of only over 90,000 people in the stadium. So this is the stark contrast of what's happened over the last 40 to 30 years. In no small part, thanks to the pioneers of many, many people who've really pushed the women's game, and also many people in the media who pushed women's football and women's sports when it wasn't the most popular thing to push, and it wasn't necessarily as mainstream as it is now. And I also appreciate that it's easy for me as football to say that we're more mainstream than ever, but women's football and women's sport still has a long way to go. Today in Europe, we're around 440 million women and girls in the population. The landscape for women's sport, for women's football is better than ever, but to be quite honest, it's by no means perfect, it's by no means equal, but it is moving in the right direction in every corner of Europe, from Iceland to Kazakhstan. What we've seen in the last 10 years is nearly an 800% rise in women's football revenues in our national associations, 140% rise in expenditure in those associations. Total media coverage of the game has doubled. I'm expecting that that's actually a bigger number post-Euro. We're having these record-breaking attendances of over 500,000 people watching and going to see matches of the UEFA Women's Champions League. We know that participation rates are 4 times faster for women and girls than they are for male football, and we now have, as of September, 3 professional leagues in Europe. So things really are moving at pace, and they're moving forward. This, for us, from a governing body perspective, is very much kind of due to that intrinsic correlation and combination of trying to ensure that we push our competitions, but also the development programs, the development pathways that both increase the professionalization of the top end of the game, as well as improving the numbers at the bottom end of the game. What I'm going to do for the first half of this presentation is really take you through that elite landscape, what it looks like across Europe in quite a lot of detail. But first of all, I just want to quickly touch on how our national associations, the members of UEFA, consider the women's game, and also a little bit about the grassroots. To date, there are 44 of our member associations that have a strategic direction from women's football. So 2 years ago, that was only 24. So we've really improved if we talk about the direction and the priority that the women's game is having across our members. And you can see here on the screen the top priorities for the women's game for those associations in those 44. What's really interesting is that all of a sudden sustainability has become a key pillar for most federations. How do we make women's football sustainable? That's not only just from a revenue perspective, but that's also from a coverage perspective, from a staffing perspective. How do we make sure that the game can become more self-fulfilling? There's no surprises that top leagues and senior national teams are priorities for our national associations. But what is consistent throughout every single one of our members is that participation is always the #1 priority. It's always the top of the goals list. We have more players than ever. Here you can see a map of Europe, and you can see that in absolute terms, we have 1.6 million women and girls registered to play football. So these are just girls playing in clubs. That's not including girls that play in schools or that play for fun. Those are girls that are actively participating at a competitive level. The darker the color, obviously, the more participants a country has. And you can see a little bit of a pattern, which probably comes as no surprise, that the bigger and more traditional women's football countries generally have more players. But we can also look at things in a different way to really focus on what the opportunity is for every single country. As I said earlier, there are 440 million women and girls in Europe, but only 0.3% of the female population are playing football. And when we look at this map, in this instance, the darker the color, the higher percentage of women in each country are playing football. And you can see that the contours of the map changes, the colors of the map changes, and there is a much bigger opportunity in every single country to give girls an opportunity to play the game. But I really want to focus on the status quo of the elite game, because this year has very much been about the changes in elite women's football, specifically in Europe. Essentially, it is an ever-changing landscape. I think we have to update these statistics all the time because it's moving so quickly. But what the clear trend is that we're in a movement and a process of professionalization. There are more teams in our top divisions. We have 9 more teams than we had across Europe last season. The formats in a large number of our associations and leagues are changing the formats to improve the competitiveness of football, but also to create a more attractive product, to drive eyeballs, and to ultimately drive revenue as well. This particularly includes more leagues offering promotion and relegation, which means the pyramid is deeper, we have more teams to compete, and also that there are increased number of playoff systems as well. Collaborations between the men's and the women's game is much more evident than ever before, and I'll come back to that in a moment. Currently, Europe has 52 top domestic leagues, 51 cup competitions. Some countries actually have 2 cup competitions, and that number has grown from 37 in 2018 to the 51 now. This equates to over 500 clubs and nearly 12,000 players that are playing in those 52 leagues. What's very specific about women's football is that national associations are running the leagues in nearly every case, but the ones that you can see on the screen. The only exceptions to that rule would be Northern Ireland, Scotland, and Spain, which have separate entities, and Norway and Sweden, which are run by a more special organizational structure. It's not just the league landscape that's shifting, but obviously as well, therefore, the club landscape. It's ever evolving, and what we can really see is there is that change towards collaborative, more integrated club structures. At the moment, if we look at every single club or women's team across Europe, 50% of them would be part of an integrated system where there's a men's team and a women's team, and 50% would be independent women's teams. Now, we expect that to shift, as we've also made some changes to the UEFA men's club licensing system, which now encourages all teams that are playing in UEFA competitions to actively increase activities for the women's game. So we expect that there should be naturally a bit more of a shift towards integrated clubs. But nevertheless, both of them have both advantages and disadvantages. 330 of the clubs in top men's divisions have a women's team. And if we look at the UEFA competitions, the teams that are qualifying in the men's competitions, 48% of those will have a women's team. But when you look at the group stage, that increases to more towards 65%. So the bigger clubs are often more likely to have a women's team. And naturally, with every professionalization process, you will have more professional players. We've got 2.5 times more professional players than we had in 2012. But what we really want to focus on is moving the dial for the number of players that are semi-professional and amateur in women's football so that they can have professions. And that's one of the main aims of many of the federations in UEFA included. You can see just here, 3.2 million are semi-professional and 5.6 playing in those 52 leagues, amateur and unpaid youth. England have some great examples of using regulatory change to push forward professionalization for female athletes in both their first and their second tier. The pace of change can also be seen in the international transfer market, which has grown absolutely exponentially over the last few years. In fact, between 2020 and 2021, you can see there was a 20% increase. There's a huge consistent growth, and it's very clear that Europe is central to the transfer market. So Europe has 50% of activity with European clubs involved. 71% of fees involve a European club. Sweden, actually, last year was the highest engaging nation in Europe. The amounts are nowhere near as big as they are in the men's game. But what's really important for us to look at is actually that rate of change. It's consistently improving year on year. It's getting bigger and bigger, and the jumps in terms of fees are also increasing quite exponentially. What's also important to note is that the competitiveness of the women's game is improving season by season. We have less repeat winners, we have fewer blowout matches, and so we have fantastic signs when we're going into this new domestic season. At the end of the presentation, I'm going to show you a little bit about how we've already kicked off the 22-23 season. But it was really important for me to be able to present to you the status quo of the women's game from a professional or top domestic club perspective, so that you can understand as well how important this year has been for the women's game. Because for us, as Europe, 2022 has been by far the biggest ever year we've ever had for the women's game. It's gone from strength to strength. Women's football has written headlines, or you have written headlines for the women's game, and it's not just COVID and the Biannual Cup. It's been major, major success stories. And we would have never got here, I think, to the quite extraordinary heights that we've seen this season if we didn't have a plan. And if I think about where we've come from, I want to just quickly address UEFA's strategic direction, which is called Time for Action. And that's something that we set up as the women's football unit at UEFA in 2018. And it was UEFA's first ever strategy for the women's game. We're nearly over halfway through now. But when we set up Time for Action, we really wanted to make sure that the new competition of the Women's Champions League and the Women's Euro set a foundation for the development of the sport in every single aspect. And we committed to 5 goals in order to do that. We wanted to double the number of women and girls playing football. We wanted to change perceptions of the sport, double the reach and value of our flagship competitions, improve player standards at the grassroots level, and amongst our national team players. And we also wanted to double representation of women on UEFA bodies. In order to meet all those goals, UEFA invested over 50 million euros on top of existing funding into 5 key projects. And 2 of them were competition. Well, 3 of them actually were competitions. And that's what I want to talk to you about today, because the competitions have really driven development, and they will be the catalyst for us meeting all those goals in 2 years' time. We've looked at the Women's Euro, we've looked at the Women's Champions League, and we've looked at our youth competitions. We've transformed all 3 elements of competition that are run by UEFA. And we've done that by ensuring that we set them up in order to drive development and professionalization, that they set the standards, increase visibility, that they provide an opportunity for revenue streams, but also importantly, that they instill principles of solidarity. So let's take a little bit of a deep dive into the Women's Champions League and then the Women's Euro, both of which have had transformational season. This is one of my favorite pieces of artwork, actually, that we have for the women's game. I think it's a really powerful picture. But the UWCL has become the best club competition in the world. There really is only one crown. Every European team wants to win that crown, but also players from across the world want to win that crown, whether it's Lindsay Horan now at Olympique Lyonnais for the Champions League, or whether it's Sam Kerr from Australia playing for Chelsea. All of them want to vie for the crown. And the sweeping changes that we've made to this competition are the reason why we saw such a big gear change in the 2021-22 season that have really changed the prominence and the perception of women's football. And I just want to show you a very quick video that says 11 reasons why the UEFA Women's Champions League is revolutionizing the game. These interventions certainly have reaped huge rewards across the competition, but I think that the biggest change that we made was certainly the deal with and the partnership with DAZN and YouTube. That partnership basically is 61 match days available for free on YouTube and DAZN's channel across the world for the first 2 years, and then reducing to 60% of the matches for the 2 years after. That really means that everybody can watch the Women's Champions League. It's available to all, and visibility is so important for the women's game. You can see here some of the stats after the first season. 64 million views from people in over 230 countries watched the competition last season. 3.6 million people tuned in for the final. Now, to put that in context, the year before was less than half of that number of people who watched the final. Big stadia are opening their doors to the women's game. We have club record attendances in multiple countries, and we have nearly 600,000 people going to watch and sit in the stadiums for this competition. And we're hoping that due to the success of last season, the success of the Euro, the group stage starts in a few weeks, that those numbers will tumble and we will beat them once again. I think it's very clear that we don't have to wonder anymore if we give that stage of visibility to the women's game. People are interested and people want to watch. And that was clear as well from the Women's Euro. Then that same narrative was put forward in England 2022, just 1 month after the final of the Women's Champions League. Not only did Women's Euro promise to be the biggest UEFA Women's Euro ever, which it most certainly was, but it was promised to be a tournament of firsts and a tournament of records. And this one-pager showcases all the firsts and all the records that were broken over the incredible summer that we've had back in England. There were nearly 600 journalists and photographers on site for the Women's Euro. Nearly 200,000 articles were written during the 1 month of the tournament. If we think about what happened on the pitch, there was a significant improvement in technical quality. It was the biggest invested Women's Euro ever, which ensured better services to teams and ultimately improved the fan experience for people, whether they were watching in the stadium or watching on TV. In fact, over 360 million people watched the Women's Euro globally, 50 million for the final, which was a huge increase on the 2017 stats, and nearly 575,000 people went to the stadiums from rainy Manchester in the north to the sunny Brighton in the south. It really was an incredible moment for women's football. But perhaps I think the most important takeaway from Women's Euro is the aspect of legacy. And I think that's something we don't talk enough about when we're talking about sports competitions. Because I think Women's Euro is likely to be one of the few sporting events that really has a true and intentional legacy. UEFA, together with the English FA, started well before the tournament in deciding that there needed to be a legacy from this competition. UEFA gave 300,000 euros to the host cities in order to set up a legacy program. That 300,000 euros turned into 3.1 million of government funding to fund programs to get more girls to play, to referee, and to coach in order to basically inspire positive change. And you can see some of the main results behind me. So over 400,000 new opportunities for girls and women to play football in those 9 cities, nearly 8,000 new registrants at clubs, 14,600 girls and women playing the game recreationally for the first time, 600 newly qualified female coaches. But this is only half of the story. The legacy work continues. The legacy programs are continued to be funded thanks to another 1 million injection post-tournament. But also what Women's Euro really did for legacy and for the women's game was change perceptions. Around 2 in 5 of the general public in England have said that the Women's Euro has made them more interested in women's football as a sporting product. The Women's Euro was literally on the front and the back pages of newspapers across the world, from The Guardian to The Bild and round again. From our perspective, that's never happened before in women's sport in Europe. And we can already see the immediate impact and the non-intentional legacy of Women's Euro. It seems to have created a halo effect across women's sports, where attendances are up across women's sports, irrespective of whether it's football or something else. The immediate impact we saw, of course, in the domestic leagues. We've seen it in England in the WSL. So this is the North London derby, Arsenal versus Tottenham, the first major game in the Emirates since the Women's Euro. They sold over 50,000 tickets. Sold, not gave away, sold. That's different from what was happening maybe a year ago, and that's really important. Chelsea and Arsenal sold out all their season tickets. Leicester City has sold 50% more than they had the year before. Clubs and grassroots clubs are reporting huge changes, huge numbers of girls who are wanting to play the game. In fact, they're telling us that they've reached capacity. Brighton and Hove Albion had 50% more girls sign up for places that they had on their program. That's incredible, and it's a nice problem to have, something that we definitely need to work towards. But it was also a problem that the DFB commented about in the media a few days ago, saying basically that they had too few numbers of teams for the number of girls who wanted a place. This is a picture of the opening game for the Frauen Bundesliga, Frankfurt versus Bayern Munich, which also had a record-breaking crowd. But it's not just England and Germany that are seeing the results we've had. Attendance records broken from Switzerland to the Republic of Ireland to Italy. And we've had smaller associations also, like Iceland. I'm not going to, unless there's somebody Icelandic in here that wants to translate for you. This is the table that refers to the TV programs that got the highest viewership in a given week in Iceland. Iceland versus Belarus had the highest for the week. The week after, Iceland versus the Netherlands did the same again. Now, these are just snippets, a little bit of information that we feel really demonstrate the practical nature of the impact of Women's Euro on the wider ecosystem of women's football. But I do think that it was best said at the very end of the Women's Euro, when the TV pundit Gabby Logan referred to a famous piece of British commentary from the World Cup in 1966. That's
a very long time since we've won a trophy, but with a twist for the women's game. You think it's all over, it's only just begun. Because although I showed you all that imagery at the beginning of this presentation from 1964, and to be honest, I could have shown you something from 1920 as well, for some people it has only just begun. And that means that we have a huge opportunity with this sport to take it to new heights. Because to be honest, we have more players, more coaches, there are new revenue stream opportunities, new partners, there's brand diversification, and there are new fans and new members. Every league and every club involved in the women's game, and also some not, want to invest in women's football, and they want to invest in it now. This is one of the reasons why, as UEFA, we decided to put together a project to be able to demonstrate the value of women's football across Europe and provide those unprecedented insights into consumer interest, into engagement, into image, into the sporting elements of the game, to really make sure that everybody had the right information when they wanted to invest to develop the sport. And we hope that this project of the business case for women's football really sets the standard for what needs to happen for the elite game. Many of you might have seen this, and I'm coming to the end now of my presentation, but I wanted to take some of the highlights from this rather lengthy report to showcase to you today so that you can really see how far the women's game can grow. The first thing that we found from this project was that success matters. Like in all sports, women, it's not just the nice things that people want to see, the fans want to see, the investors want to see. Success matters. It matters to fans, it matters to clubs, and it matters to leagues. Not only does it matter, but women's football clearly has a unique opportunity for different clubs and to be able to and associations to be able to compete at the very highest level. We have new and bigger audiences than ever before in the women's game. So today we have 144 million people in Europe that are saying that they are a fan of women's football. That's 21% of the adult population. Women's football is already the fastest growing of all sports in terms of fan base. And we know that 60% are following for less than 5 years. That means we're bringing in new fans to the game. Almost 1 in 3 fans of the women's game are new to football. That's 47 million. Women's football fans are the most progressive have the most progressive values in sport. This is a highly attractive proposition for everybody. And we've already seen the potential directly in the evidence that we found from our competitions last year. We expect this number of 144 million to grow to around 328 million in this next decade. We saw at the Women's Euro that as the competition went on, fans that were in the stadium became more female, they were younger, and they were newer to the sport of football. That's a huge opportunity for sport, not just for UEFA. That's a huge opportunity for sports and for women's sport. I only have 3 more slides, but one that I did want to put forward for you is the more visibility is essential. This is something that we can all do, and we can all do together. We saw it in the Euro, and we saw it in the UEFA Women's Champions League, who has a mantra with the more eyes, the more we rise. The more we can get people watching, seeing, reading, learning about women's sport, the more this sport can grow. And the more it can grow, the higher the commercial revenue can be, which can be driven back into the game. We predict that there's a 6-fold increase over the next decade for the women's game in Europe, so that it can cement itself as the most commercially valuable sport property, as well as being the fastest growing of all sports. So, ladies and gentlemen, you can see that we're in a great space. There's still an awful lot of work to do. We know that the next 10 years will be better than the last 10 years. What's next for UEFA? Well, the group stage is kicking off in a few weeks' time. The final of the Women's Champions League will be here at the Philips Stadium in Eindhoven. There'll be a new qualification pathway for senior national team competitions being announced shortly. The Women's Euro bidders will be announced in January, so we will see where we'll be going for 2025. And the next strategic process for UEFA and the goal setting for women's football will also be starting next year. Thank you very much.
And our member of EC, Hiroshi Takeuchi, will give you something to remember us. Please prepare Mr. Ant Jaworski, member of a local organizing committee for Special Olympics World Games Berlin 2023. You're here.
Thank you very much. So, hello everybody. Good afternoon. Know that everybody's heading for the traveling to Rome city center, but hope I have 10 to 15 minutes of your attention. Try my best for the presentation, but one moment, okay? So we will wait. But first of all, let me thank you for today's invitation. It's quite unusual place for us, representing Special Olympics, World Games. There we are. So also from him, happy welcome. We went through a lot of presentations today, but what I keep in my mind was unusual is not bad, and that's true. There's a truth in it. And this morning we had a discussion in a panel about robotics and journalism. And today I would like to present you a topic which is really unusual and has nothing to do with robotics. And I hope that I will be able today to get you being all an ambassador for the Special Olympics. And as you know better than me, pictures, videos says more than some words. So I would like to present via video the Special Olympics World Games.
You are the stars.
Don't be frightened, just a minute.
The world is watching you. By your presence, you send a message to every village, every city, every nation. A message of hope, a message of victory.
It's your time to shine. There's a light inside of all of us. Soon you'll find that it's your time to fly, fly. It's your time to shine, shine.
You, the athletes, are ambassadors of the greatness of humankind.
Across the universe, it's your time to shine. There's a light inside of all of us. Soon you'll find that it's your time to fly.
Yeah, I always get a smile when I see this video, but some of you may not know Special Olympics, what it's all about. So Special Olympics and the movement was founded in 1968 by Eunice Kennedy Shriver. She already started in the early 60s with some Shriver camps for children with special needs. This was the impact, and it's about honoring all the athletes with intellectual disabilities. So from our side, everybody is a winner. It's not a position number one, number two, number three. It's about everybody, and it's about sports and this truth and this friendliness and the respect. And you see in this picture our chairman, Timothy Shriver, with our athlete spokesman, Mark Solomeyer, and Nyasha. You will see Nyasha again in, I think, 2 or 3 minutes again. So we will have the Special Olympics World Games next summer in Berlin. And as you can see, we have biannual World Games, Winter World Games and Summer World Games. Next one will hopefully take place in Australia, the Summer Games. It's the #1 inclusive sports events worldwide, and it's IOC recognized. So we are giving it a platform for people and especially athletes with intellectual disability, the home, the platform to develop. And crunching some numbers, because we heard a lot of numbers today. We talk about 200 million people worldwide with intellectual disabilities. That's quite a lot. That's not a small group. And we're not talking about people you can put on the wall or in the corner. They are there, and they have a face. And the goal of Special Olympics, sure, is really to give them a face and also to create and to gain more recognition for them. And at the end of the day, more participation in normal life in the society through sports. That's the main ambition of us and the main ambition of Special Olympics. Breaking this down, because we're discussing the Special Olympics World Games in Germany, in Berlin next year, breaking this down to the German numbers, we talk about 7.9 million Germans with disabilities. From that, we talk about 320,000 people with intellectual disabilities and 1 million family members which are affected by the athletes, by the people living in Germany. They're quite big numbers we are working on. And when we mirror the numbers to the current situation, it's quite disappointing. When you see that less than 1% of sports clubs in Germany are inclusive, when you see that 92% of athletes in Germany with intellectual disabilities do not any sports, this is something we would like to work on. And I will explain to you later on how we work on this, because we think that it's worth it to have an inclusive society. And you see the statement of our former Chancellor, Angela Merkel, people are not disabled, they are restricted. And it's like that. They have a different attitude, there's a different approach, because everything what is for us is normal, for them it's not, especially when it comes to daily life. And you see, we have the founding from the German government, we have the founding from the Berlin Senate, and we are not using the Special Olympics World Games just as a one-stop event, because it's a huge event. I will show you later on some figures. But we create a kind of legacy express. You heard about legacy before when it comes to women football in UEFA Champions League. We create the same, more or less in a different way and with different aspects for us for the World Games, because we would like to create a long-term perspective for our athletes, and more on this for the people with intellectual disabilities based on the World Games. That's a different approach than previous events. And when it comes to the Special Olympic World Games, we talk about the third largest multi-sports event worldwide. It's the world largest inclusive sports event. And after the Olympic Games in Munich in 1972, some of them might remember them, we're not so happy about some things, you know this, but it's the first big multinational event in Germany. We're not talking about the World Cup because it's not a multinational sport event, but it's the first time Germany will host a lot of athletes and a lot of families on this. It will be a huge happening. And our vision for the World Games is really to create an inclusive society driven by the power of sports. This is our main vision we have. And of course, our goal is to create close encounters, to change attitudes, to change consciousness in the society, because we already reflected that if we create close encounters, we don't have any barriers anymore. This is our main statement. And we work on different concepts. One concept is exactly, I described the legacy approach. So we designed already unified generation programs for schools, for university, for sports club, just to increasing the bad numbers I showed you before about the less than 1% of sports clubs are inclusive. The second one is we're handling a green games concept. So we want to be emission-free for the whole event. So discussing this also with our big partners, we are quite confident to deal with that when it comes to electromobility, when it comes to waste. So really to have I hope, a clear zero on this when it comes to emission and to waste, but we are on the best way to do this. Another concept is our host home program. This will be and is the biggest inclusive program we have in Germany ever. So 206 communities in Germany will host 190 delegations and host them. And they will host them not only for the World Games, they are now starting to develop new structures, inclusive structures, when it comes to barrier freeness, when it comes to easy language, and when it comes to the fact to enable a normal life for people with intellectual disabilities. Yeah, these are our main pillars. And now some big numbers, not that big like in Paris. We don't have 10,500 at least, but we have more than 7,000. That's not bad. Huh? We talk about 6,000 families. We are still looking for volunteers. We need 20,000 volunteers. That's quite a lot. We have 300,000 on-site spectators, and you see all the media impressions. We will have 7 venues, world-class venues in Berlin, using for our athletes 26 sports, from basketball to football, what you can imagine, swimming, golf, everything is there, sailing is also there. And we had a quiet occasion this year. We had and hosted the national games, which is normally a smaller event, but we created this as a test balloon for us, a positive test balloon. And we had 4,000 athletes in Berlin who were joining us in 20 sports. And it was really also when it comes to and that's more or less your part, when it comes to the figures of media, a big success. Knowing that we don't have any live broadcasting, it was quite good. And you see here the statements of the German press, sport can be so beautiful, coaching for the German sports, games against exclusion, very important one, and a classification for more equalness. We discussed today a lot of unequalness and equalness, and we shouldn't forget our people with intellectual disabilities, because they're quite strong, as I showed you, worldwide with 200 million, and this will have an impact for all our society and our life. Here's my friend Nyasha again, and as you know, we had the Berlin Marathon 2 weeks ago. So Kipchoge won this, you see in the middle, Kipchoge won this marathon and was breaking the world record. And Nyasha also is not bad. He's running the marathon in 2 hours, 34 minutes. I will never do this, honestly speaking, despite that I'm not training. So, and you see what he's writing there. No human is limited. And these are the stories we are producing every day. They're not creating this big phase in future. So we were thinking how to create this big phase when it comes to the World Games, and especially when it comes for the games after. And we started, 1 year ago, to contact all the broadcasters in Germany, because as you know, normally the broadcasters fighting against each other for the TV rights, especially when it comes to the first party rights and the second party rights. And here you see a statement of people who are sitting now together. Some of you know that Bild from Axel Springer is one of the biggest public press newspaper on a daily basis, and the German broadcaster. And here you are, we have at least one woman. We were pushing more. There were 2 more, but they were not able to participate. So we were happy that the program chef of RTL were joining us. And they're sitting from ARD, ZDF, from RTL, all you know, from Sky Media. We brought them all together and convinced them to be united, not competing against each other for the TV rights, and just create a new media alliance, a role model for all future events, which will help really to create a unified and also a common face to the public, especially when it comes to target groups which are not that strong. So we are planning to provide up to 500 hours live broadcasting, a live streaming of 8 sports a day, which is tremendous for us. We will have highlight formats, we will have exclusive content and so on. And on the right side, as mentioned, you see all the participants on the Media Alliance. That's a real breakthrough, I can tell you, because I worked in this business for over 20 years, joining FIFA World Cups, Euro, and so on. But to get them all on the table and not discussing the price for the TV rights, just discussing we will be part of it or not, this was a breakthrough. And I hope that this could be a role model for future events. Totally new. And of course, we are playing with all the other channels, you know. And we have a big out-of-home campaign in Berlin. As I mentioned, we needed more than 20,000 volunteers. We will play with print, digital, TV, radio, social media, for example, with TikTok, Instagram, LinkedIn, and so on. So this is one of the part we are really pushing now, starting with a volunteer campaign in 2 weeks, worldwide, German-wide, not worldwide, German-wide, because we really are eager to find these 20,000 volunteers. And at the end of the day, I mean, I told you we are financed by the German government, we are financed by the Berlin Senate. But I mean, in our budget, we have also part of sponsoring and partnering. So without our partners, we were not able to do all this for our athletes. And we are also, yeah, we're quite eager the last 12 to 16 months to find big partners. You see Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola is a founding partner of Special Olympics. You see all the other partners. We are nearly to 24, 25 partners who assist us, who gives us the right activation, especially when it comes to unified sports, meaning that people with intellectual disability are doing sports with others. Together they're playing football, they're playing basketball, they're playing volleyball, all together. And for all of these corporates you see here, how lucky we all are in this room in comparison to other ones. And I hope I had 10 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes. I hope I could convince you a little bit being an ambassador in our movement. And for sure, would be great to see you all in Berlin next year to celebrate the Special Olympic World Games. So thank you very much. It was a quick run through, but yeah, but I hope we can have some bilateral discussions afterwards. So I hope I'm in time.
Please stay with us.
Yeah.
Evelyn, would you be so kind to give a small trophy to our guest? Because it was very interesting. Thank you very much. Hope to see you in Berlin.
Yeah, you're all invited. So.
Okay, we are all invited, you see here.
For the tickets.
Thank you very much. And Evelyn Watt, our vice president, is giving the small trophy. Chungcheong Megacity 2027 World University Games bid. Julie Lee, project manager, will introduce us with it. Julie? Maybe not. Oh, sorry, didn't see you. Julie?
Hello, everybody. Thank you. First of all, it's okay. Oh, yeah. Thank you. First of all, on behalf of the Chungcheong 2027 bid committee, thank you for inviting us today, and Mr. President and Mrs. Morris, Honorary Secretary General, to give us a wonderful opportunity to introduce ourselves today. I know you guys are ready to call it a day. I can imagine it's a really long day. So I tried to make a short presentation about the Chungcheong 2027 candidate city. So please let me begin with a brief introduction of the Chungcheong region. There is a Korean say like, if you want to go far, go together. So Chungcheong Megacity made a special joint effort with two cities and two provinces to host the 2027 FIFA World University Games, which never tried before. So first city is Daejeon. Daejeon Metropolitan City is the home of the science and technology. We call it the Silicon Valley in Korea. So Daejeon will be host about FIFA headquarters and also opening ceremony in there. The second city is Sejong. National new administration capital is located in Sejong. And then also Sejong will be, Sejong has a 47 central government office and agency and a 16 national research center is there. During the game, main athlete village will be located in there. And third is Chungcheongbuk-do province. It's a cradle of the tradition and culture. Also, it's not only for the heritage area, but there are world well-known corporations located there, such as Samsung, LG, and Hyundai Motors as well. Last is Chungcheong Namdo province. It's a mecca for the sports, marine sports, with a beautiful landscape along the western coastline line of Korea. So, such as a beach volleyball will be held in this region. So, 4 different background and strength cities and provinces gathering together and will be ready to make another great synergy for through the 2027 World University Games. Location. So as you can see the map, the interesting things about this region of the Chungcheong, it's located in the heart of the Korea, with a 5.6 million population. It takes out 12% of the Korea population. And about the climate condition, in August is our proposal calendar for the event, and then during the August it's about 26 average temperature and about 80% of the humidity. So also Chungcheong is quite well known for the mild weather with a present condition for the sports event. Accessibility is one of the strong point. You might have experience about the international airport, which is one of the largest and the most convenient international airport in the world. It's connected to 88 international airlines with 52 different countries and 173 cities. It is easy to access Chungcheong megacity from all corners of the world. But not only that, during the 2027 Chungcheong, we will provide a visa waiver program, so there will be no hassle with a visa to enter the Korea. As I mentioned before, geographically, the place is located in the middle of the Korea Peninsula. It's going to be the central hub of the Korea transportation network. Now, as you can see, from Incheon Airport to the Chungcheong, it's only take 1 and 14 minutes by Korea trains. And also from the Seoul to Chungcheong, it's only 14 minutes by super train, rapid train. So if it needs, we have a Cheongju International Airport located in the Chungbuk province as well. And we will also provide hub-to-hub service connecting between the express train station and game village, and also airport as well. Hub-to-spot service is also provided, which is a free shuttle bus service between the venue and game village. Most of all, Chungcheong megacity is a home to the 20% of the Korea university student population. There are 66 universities and colleges with over 500,000 of university students. This account of the 50% of the all Korean university. This environment is why we think Chungcheong megacity is right place for the World University Sports Movement. Our vision and concept. Our vision is a creative and innovative challenge for the better future. I think lots of people these days, this COVID time, we do have adopted to new normal. So many things have been changed and will be changed in the future. So we have to have a creative approach and innovation approach to face a challenge that we might not have imagined so far what will come in the future. So we want to prepare ourselves for the new normal and also to excel. Our motto we have said is step, jump, leap. And to give us a little explanation about the step is following the law, like if there are any requirements required, we will be following the step as much as we can. As jump is from our side, we want to take that a little bit higher. We want to bring up the standard a little bit more. And leap is bring up our standard so that we can ready to leap into the future and to overcome the challenge that we will facing us. Our slogan is with you, with the heart. You has a lot of meaning for us in here. You has you, us, unite, unique, university, and universiard. And also it's a very special meaning for people in Chungcheong region because Chungcheong language dialect, they use lots of this word you at every word that they use. So for people in this Chungcheong region, you has a special meaning. So with you, with the heart, with the hands, with the Chungcheong, and together step, jump, leap toward to the new future. This is a bit emblem, and then if you look at the animation, you can see where this design is coming from. So interesting is the character inside of this emblem actually come from the first alphabet of the Korean word Chungcheong is up there. So we have taken the alphabet and we design it so that we can make a representative dynamic player running side by side. And our background is the fortune pouch. It plays for hope and good luck for the Chungcheong Megacity. So media, I think it's the most interesting part from your guys on this presentation. So, this is our current plan of the media center. As you see the red star, this will be the main hub for the International Integrated Media Center and located inside just the headquarters hotel. All the other region will have a respected media center as well. All media can be secure that Korea provided a high fastest internet service and the post-secured internet speed possible. So this is the proposed 12 days program of the event. And then we will have 15 compulsory sports and 3 optional sports as a football, rowing, and sailing. And then it's a venue concept. The majority of the game venue are reachable within a 40 kilometers distance from the main game village, which will be located in Sejong. 31 competition venue and 33 training venue are located in Chungcheong. 11 will be located in Chungnam, 3 in Sejong, 4 in Daejeon, and 10 in Chungbuk. Now, out of 31 venues needed, 20 of them are existed. Only 1 will be newly built permanently for Chungcheong 2027. 9 of the game village will be a game facility will be built regardlessly of the university because they already have been planned. The accommodation. So we have a sufficient numbers of the hotel that we can welcome the several thousand of this family and the visitors. A part of the hotel that also we have lots of affordable accommodation in these regions. Now, we like to introduce what we like to deliver through the event. First is experience. Total experience services, so-called TEST 2027. We like to provide a once-in-a-life experience to all the participants and the visitors during the games. We will provide the best experience about the Chungcheong and Korea with a tour and food, healthcare, and also a culture experience, so much more. TEST 2027 is the program developed for enhancing the experience of the Chungcheong 2027 for all participants. Next is I-2027. It's a mobile, kind of a mobile platform from the TESS 2027. All participants and all the people can join the app and able to see everything, everything what's related to games, such as not only the game program, but also if you come from the out of a city and then you don't know where you stay, you can find the everything in this app. ICE 2027 will be bespoke service to fit the demand of the participants as well. Culture and tourism. BTS, Squid Game, Parasite, I'm sure one of these that you have heard. So Korea culture contents are quite popular in this day, especially for the young generation. So during the opening and closing, and also during the games, we will present all the unique aspect of the Korean wave. Keeping the environment safe and sustainable is one of our key priorities. We will host eco-responsibility games. Environment must be protected before, during, and after the game. Chungcheong 2027 aims to be climate positive and non-plastic and shall use the clean energy as well. We would like to be good model on this, so we will find the more way to provide a better future for the next generation. So legacy. We would like to add a core value and give more strength between the student athletes and university and its partners. So we propose the Utopia project that aims to support the FISO World University Sports Movement by creating research and develop the project with the partners. So it will be good place, the part of this kind of research, and find the answer and solution and how we can strengthen the middle link from the visit to local university and its partner. So this is our last slide, why Chungcheong Megacity is the best candidate for the FISU 2027 World University Game. First of all, Chungcheong Megacity has a fully supported by Korean government and citizens, not only fully financed support, but also the 1.5 million citizens already been signed for the supporting for the hosting World University Games. Second, Korea understands the value of the university sports at the FISU. As you know, that Korea already hosted 3 times of FISU Games. First was 1997 Muju Jeonju Winter Universiade, and 2003 Daegu Summer Universiade, and 2015 Gwangju Summer Universiade. Every game made the best event in FISU history. Now, it will be our first times. We will guarantee that we will beat our old record as well. Last, Chungcheong Megacity is capable of setting a new standard for World University Game. So we are ready to jump and live into the new chapters in the World University Game. Hopefully, we can welcome you all in the Chungcheong 2027. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. And I would like our Vice President, Mr. Charles Kamenzuli, to give you a small memory. And newly elected European President. Congratulations, Charles. Ladies and gentlemen, this is all for today. Next step is 6:30 buses, which will take us to the stadium. Tomorrow morning, we will close the doors at 9:30. Who is in will vote. Who is out will not vote. 9:30 here. Thank you.